Hello guys, welcome back. Let's talk about agents, right? I haven't created the video for quite a long about the agents, and agent seems to be the talk of the town right now, right? There are many agents out there, or let's say the platforms from where you can create the LLM agents. One, as you can see on the screen, it is the LangGraph, and to name some of those, there is this AutoGen, an open source programming framework for agentic AI. And there is this Crew AI. I hope you know about this also, AI agents for real use cases. And there is also this introducing the Transformers agent from Hugging Face. That is just to name some of those. But then the focus of this video, as well as some of the videos in the future, will be related to the LangGraph. This will be just the introductory video. Let's get started. Okay, as you can see on the screen, it is LangGraph. So just to mention what is LangGraph, here it says the gain precise and control with LangGraph to build agents that reliably handle complex tasks. At the end, what agent does is, because agents were there for quite a long time now, right? What it does is it helps you to connect, or let's say do different tasks at the same time. Let's say you have 5 different tasks to perform for the LLM. You can create an agent and say, okay, these are the tools that you need to go and source the information for. It goes through these tools and you get the information. That is how the high level agent works, right? Here it says that, which is just a program driven by an LLM, and the agent is empowered by tools to help to perform the actions, right? That's it. So yeah, for starting about the LangGraph, what you can do if you want to explore more is, this is the documentation. You can see from here there are different things with the LangGraph, and one exploration before going into this LangGraph video. I just want to make sure there might be some questions, okay? And this LangGraph FAQs clearly answers those doubts which I had also before. It says here, do I need to use LangChain to use the LangGraph? One thing to remember is LangGraph, LangSmith, and LangChain are from the same company, LangChain, right? So there might be some confusion. Okay, do I need to learn LangChain to use the LangGraph or not, and so on? No, LangGraph is an orchestration framework for complex agentic systems and is a more low level and controllable than LangChain agents, right? We know that, okay, it is not, we don't need to use the LangChain. And also, how is LangGraph different from others? So other agentic frameworks can work for simple generic tasks, but fall short for complex tasks. So we'll be going in the future. Let's see how it goes. I will try to create more complex agents also. But yeah, just go and look here. Is LangGraph open source? Yes, it is open source. Is LangGraph Cloud open source? No, it is not open source, because they need to make some money, and then they have this LangGraph Cloud. I will create more videos into that in the future. But now you can just go through this, and there is this get started with Python and get started with JavaScript. I'm going to go with this Python one. If you want to follow along with me, this is the place where I will be taking the examples from. If you want to run this, it's fine. But how I will be doing is, in my GitHub repository here, you can see there is a folder called LangGraph, and there is one IPython, or let's say Jupyter notebook, which is already here. I have already cloned this in my computer. You can see here I'm inside these YouTube stuffs. If I do ls, you can see that there is already the LangGraph folder. I will go inside the LangGraph folder here, and if I do ls-lia, I have already created the virtual environment, but it is not activated yet, right? But if you don't know how to create the virtual environment, there is just one command that you can run. So python 3-mvenv, and you can give the name .venv and source bean activate. I have already created the virtual environment there. I will just activate that virtual environment. This is the good practice for you also. Always create the virtual environment before you do some Python stuff. The packages that you install will be just inside this virtual environment. So yeah, now what we can do is we can open this in VS Code. I will be opening this in VS Code. So it is opened here. I will just bring the VS Code here. So yeah, this is the Jupyter notebook, right? For first thing first, you need to attach this to the virtual environment that we just created. It's already shown here .venv, but for you, if it's the first time, there will be written here kernel, and you need to click here and choose the virtual environment that you want. This is already here. For the first time, it might also need to install the kernel. So that's it. So yeah, now let's go through this Jupyter notebook. What we will be doing here, right? Simple graph with two nodes connected by edges to get you started. We need to know how the graph works first, right? And then we'll build a basic chatbot, and then we will enhance the basic chatbot with the tools, because agent is better with the tools, right? We can attach different tools. And we will be using Ollama in this case, because what I try to do is here, this is the basic LangGraph example. We can use Ollama, and I'm going to use the Llama 3.18b for basic testing. Before going through this, what you need to do now is you need to have Ollama installed in your machine. You can see here, this is the Ollama link. You can go here and download it for your machine and open it. Once you open it, on the top of the screen you will be seeing the Ollama logo on the top. Then we know that Ollama is there. So if that is done, then you are fine. And also I will show you from the terminal. Let me go to the terminal also. If I do here Ollama list, it shows here different LLMs that I have downloaded, and I will be using the Llama 3. And if you are new to Ollama, again, I have created the playlist already. You can watch the videos there, right? Now let's say that you have installed Ollama, and also you have pulled the Llama 3.18b or any LLMs you want. What we can do now is we can install LangSmith and LangGraph. LangSmith is there because we want to have the traces into the LangSmith, and it is recommended. It's not mandatory, but recommended. And also the LangChain OpenAI is there. I will show you why it is there. Now we need to first install this, and there is this just as percentage capture, just it does not show the output of the installation. This is a good way of writing in the Jupyter notebooks. Now let's go first with the simple example, right? From langgraph.graph we import the graph. We need to import the graph, and then we define a LangChain graph. So we say a graph builder equals to graph, right? When we do this, now we can create functions. So here it says, let's first understand how the graph things work, right? Nodes act like functions that can be called as needed. So two things that you need to be careful. If you don't know already, there is a thing called nodes, and there is a thing called edges in graph, and edges connects the nodes. Just remember this for now, right? Now we have a simple function here. Function that it takes input, returns input plus high. And we have another function, let's say another tool. It takes the input 2 and input 2 plus there. Here it says graph builder. This is what we have here. Dot add node. It is clear, like we add the node, and we say here node 1 as it is mentioned here, and then function 1 which we created here. This is the name, unique name, that you can provide anything, but this must be the function that you created. Once we run this, we created two nodes, right? And now what we can do is we can create, or let's say add the edges to connect the two nodes. So here we are saying, let me make this up here. It's saying graph builder dot add edge. So we are adding the edge from node 1 to node 2. It is saying where to go, right? And then the graph builder does set entry point. Let's say you have your nodes and the edges, but you need to provide the entry point, let's say from where it needs to start and say where it needs to close. So I'm saying here set entry point to node 1. So node 1 will be the entry point, and node 2 will be our finish point, right? It's simple commands here. And now we can say, after we do all this, we need to compile this. This is how it works. You can just write this dot compile. If I run this, and then once this is compiled, this is a simple code provided in the documentation which we can use to visualize the graph. So yeah, when we run this, you can see this is good part of LangGraph, because whatever I have mentioned until now, it might be, okay, what is going on here? Why are you saying this? Okay, I still didn't get it. But now the good part of graph things is, now once you just look into this diagram or figure, you understand, okay, there is a starting point, there is an end point. Once we start, there is node 1, and node 1 goes to the node 2, and there is the end. So it's clear, right? That is the important, or that's the good part of LangGraph also. Well, that is the good part of graph, but also in LangGraph you can know which nodes is going one after the another, and so on. Now what we can do is we can invoke it, right? The main purpose of creating the graph is to invoke it, isn't it? We can just say here hello. Why is it here hello, hi there? We have here in the beginning we have hi, and there is there, right? And now we are invoking with the hello, meaning that it goes hello, hi there. So that is how the graph works. So yeah, this is the simple example of the graph which contains the node and edges. Now I hope you get a little bit of the idea about the graph things and the LangGraph, how it works, right? Now let's build a basic chatbot. So for that, as I said you, I'll be using the LangSmith for the debugging, collaboration, test and monitor your LLM applications. You can go here, and here you can go here and create account and so on. So you can get a demo or just go here and see the things. I will go back to the Jupyter notebook. So here this is a thing, a small function which takes into the environment variable, so it is not visible in the Jupyter notebook. So I will run this, and once I run this, as you can see here, I have taken the environment variables from LangSmith. Although it is saying here LangChain, it is the LangSmith things, right? So these things you will get it from the LangSmith project. You can just give some name here, it will be created there, and we need to get the API key. For example, if I run this, it will ask me here provide the API key, right? For that, what I need to do is I need to go here, and probably I have somewhere here open LangSmith. So this is the LangSmith, it is reloading. Let's see. So yeah, this is the LangGraph tutorial, the name that I have used, right? I'm going to use this, and if you go to the settings, and here are the API keys. I have here LangGraph and LangGraph Studio 2 API keys, right? I have already taken this, but now I forget what it is. So what I will do is I will create a new API key. I will just say here test for now. I will create it. I'm showing you this because I'm going to revoke it once I create the video. So what I do here, I go here and I will paste it here, right? I will do enter. Okay, now I provided the LangSmith API key, and these other things from where I get, I will just quickly show you. So here, if you go to this, let's go to back. Let's say you want to create a new project, right? You go to new project. You can see these things are already being provided here. You just copy these things. I'm using the EU. You might be using USA, so the endpoint might be different, but you can provide different names here and just copy this. You don't need to create the project here. When you run the code, the project will be automatically created here, right? Now let's get back here. So yeah, that is done. And now, as I said you before, I'm not going to use the OpenAI, but I installed the OpenAI LangChain OpenAI package. Why? Because there is a thing called Ollama has now built-in compatibility with the OpenAI chat completions, meaning that you can use this chat OpenAI, but you can use the models from the Ollama. So if you want to know more, just go through this, and here you can read about this. But the good part here is what we can do is we can import the chat OpenAI from LangChain OpenAI, right? And then, as I said here, you need to provide the base URL, and that is where the Ollama listens to make sure that you have Ollama installed or not. This will not work if you don't have the Ollama already running. You install, that is one part, and then you need to run also. If you click this, if it shows Ollama is running, then it is running. So you make sure that it is running in this localhost 11434. So yeah, this is the simple thing. Chat OpenAI, you don't need to provide the API key because we are using local model. So you can just write here anything. For example, for here I'm writing provide anything here. So yeah, anything here. Model is, you can use the models, the one that you downloaded from the Ollama, and base URL is this one. Once I run this, now I can use, for example, it says chat OpenAI. Okay, I need to import this, and then it's there, meaning that now we have the model with this chat OpenAI class, right? That's easier. And now we need to start by creating the state graph. Our state graph object defines the structure of our chatbot as the state machine, and we will be adding nodes to represent the LLM and functions, and then edges to specify how the bot should transition between these functions, as I said you before also. right? This is the code that I have taken from the LangChain documentation. It's just importing the things here. You can see we import the state graph, we need to start, end, and there is a class called, and this is the typed dict, messages annotated, this is a list, and we have this add message function. So this is, you can see here it is already being imported. And if you want to know what is inside this add message, what you can do, let me first build this graph, and I will just show you what is inside this add message. You can just say add messages, 2 question marks, and shift enter. You can see the documentation of add message. Here it says merge to list of messages, updating existing ones by the ID, right? You can just go through this and see what is doing it under the hood. This is the good way of how you can view the documentation. Let's go into the next one now. Where was I? I was here. And now our graph knows 2 things, right? Every node we define will receive the current state as input and return a value that updates that state, right? And there is the messages will be appended to the current list rather than directly overwritten. That's what I just showed you, right? And this is communicated via the pre-built add messages function in the annotated syntax. That's what I just showed you. So yeah, now what we can do is we need to create a function, same as before. Now we need to create a function. That function behaves as a node, right? Here we says define chatbot. We define the state, messages, LLM local is what we create, invoke, and we provide the state and the messages, right? And now we can just say add node here. This is the simple function, and we add the node. I will run this one. Now here we can say, okay, add edges. We want to add the edges. I'm saying here start because we want to start from that and into the chatbot, and from chatbot we want to end. So the flow is there, right? And we need to compile after this. This is what I just showed you. And again, the same code as before. We can run this to see the flow or the graph. There is the start. We have one function in this case, chatbot, and then the end. And now we can run this. So this is just the code again to run it. All the comment is written here. We are calling the LLM. We are getting the answer. There is assistant, there is human, and we go through the as a chatbot, right? There is nothing fancy here, but you can go through each and every line if you feel confused. So I will run this. Once that is run, you can see here on the top there is this user. It says please enter or to confirm or escape to cancel. So I will say here, just is a simple example, I will say what, okay, I will say just hi. Let's see what happens when I say hi from the human. Now there will be the assistant part, right? So here in the beginning you can see yeah, now there is the assistant, because before there is the user, and you can say user is here, and how are you doing today, is there something I want to help with or chat. What I can do here is I will say what is the weather of Helsinki, right? I will type enter, and now assistant is the LLM that goes through and tries to get the answer for us, right? Now let's wait for the answer. This is, I'm using local machine or local LLM, so it is taking some time, right? So here you can see Helsinki, the capital city of Finland, has this, and it says year-round temperature and so on, but it does not provide me the exact temperature, because this is just the basic information from the LLM, right? We haven't attached any tools into it. So later we'll be using the same example, but then we'll attach the tool to go and find from internet the latest information. Now I will just type here Q and enter. So now it says goodbye, right? It goes out, and this is just the simple example I'm showing here. The next or the final part now is enhancing the chatbot with the tools, right? And one thing, and then we'll be using the web source tool, as I said you before. And this one thing you need to be careful here is it relies on the LLM's tool calling support. So if you are doing some, let's say the advanced tool calling, then you need to be careful in choosing the LLMs, because it says here tool calling support, which is available in Anthropic, OpenAI, Google, Gemini, and number of other LLM providers. When you test locally, something might not work at some point. If that doesn't work, then switch into these model providers, then it should work, right? For us, this is the normal simple thing, so it will work. What will we be doing now is, in order to connect to this internet, we will be using the Tavily search engine. For that, first we need to install necessary packages again. And when this is installing, okay, it already installs. I will go to this Tavily search engine because we need to get this Tavily API key. So this is the link to the documentation into the LangChain. So you can see here how to use this. But in order to get the API key, here is this Tavily AI. I will provide the link in the description. So from here you need to create the API key, and you can see there is 1000 request is free. So this is the API key. I will copy this one. I will go back to the Jupyter notebook, and here I will run this command, right? Shift enter. It asks me here the API key. I will say Control V, enter, and now I provided the API key, meaning that whenever we call this, it will now go and search into the internet, and we will create a tool for that. So yeah, let's define the tool. So from LangChain community.tools.Tavily search, we import this Tavily search results. That's it. Tool. This is the Tavily, so maximum result equals to 2. If you just want 1, then that's fine also. And then tools equals to tool. This is as simple as it is. And just to see if it works or not, we can say tool.invoke what is the weather of Helsinki in Celsius, right? I will run this. It must get the answer from the internet. So you can see here it says location name, Helsinki region, southern Finland, this, okay, latitude, longitude, and so on, right? And then if you go here, okay, last updated 24/8/11. Today is 8/11, 11:05 when I record this video. It says 11, temperature is 19.9 degree, right? So yeah, it provides the answer and it's correct. Now what we can do is, the LLM was before without the tools. Now we need to have the LLM with tools. So here is the LLM local.bind tools, and we just gave it the tools. That's it. Now same as before, we need to go through this process of creating the node. As you can see here, we are using the LLM with tools, graph builder. We need to create the graph, and same as before, we need to create a function here, and we need to add the node. So I added the node here. That is great. Now we create a function to actually run the tools if they are called. Before we just have the normal LLM function, but now we need to create the tool. For that, as you can see here, this code might be a little bit long, but then this is all because I have added the doc strings also there. So a class representing a node that processes and executes the tool request embedded in the last AI message. We have this basic tool node, right? And we import the tool message here. You can see here we have init function, initializes the basic tool node with a list of available tools, right? This is just the normal thing we are doing here. And the second thing here is the same as before, but what we are trying to do is and it is mentioned here, process the input data to extract the latest message and execute the responses tools. So there are different arguments, and it returns something, and if there is some error, it raises the error message, and so on. So the code is quite straightforward. So it first list to accumulate the output of each tool, iterate over each tool in the message, invoking the corresponding tool and collecting the results, right? You can see for tool call in message the tool calls, and so we just have one tool now, but imagine there might be many tools also provided. And then here is the append into the tool message, content, name, tool ID, and so on. And then last we just return the messages output, returns a dictionary with the key message. And then what we do is, example uses in instantiating the basic tool node with a list of tools, but we just have one tool, isn't it? So we just pass that into the basic tool node, and we add that at a node. It seems to be a little bit more, or okay, what is going on here? But as I said before also, when you know the picture or diagram, you know that we are just creating a tool which does the thing that we want, right? And then we have this add node tools. So I run this one, and now let's define the conditional edges. There is now one additional thing that we need to do. So we have the node, right? And there is this conditional edges, meaning that we want the LLM to go to that if needed only. It's not mandatory that it needs to go to that particular tool, but then if we have this conditional edges, it says that if you need to go to that node, please go there and return the answer, right? Here you can see this is the conditional things. Here we are saying define the root tool, so determines the next node in the processing graph based on the last AI message in the state. So here also everything, as you can see here, it's the same, right? But then we need to notify two things. I think one, this message makes it clear. This function is used as in a conditional edge to decide whether to route the flow to the tools node if the last message contains the tool calls, or the end node if no tool calls are present. Meaning that if it says okay, go to the tools, it will go to the tools and get the answer and go to the end one. Otherwise it will just go to the end one. Again, it seems to be confusing, but then if you see the graph, it will be clear. I will run this one, and once this is done, we add the conditional edges from the chatbot. The function determines the next node is the route tools, and tools mapping the function return values to specific. If the function returns tools, route to the tools. If the function returns the end, route to the end, right? And then we add the edges, and tools, from tools it goes to the chatbot, start from the chatbot, and so on. And then we compile this. If I run this, and now this is the graph viewer. I think this is what makes it easier now for you to understand. So before, what we had the start 1, chatbot 1, chatbot 2, and end. It needs to go through 1 to 2 and then to the end, right? So here what we are doing is we said okay, start, it goes to the chatbot, and here if it gets the answer, it goes to the end. That is what the agent building agent is all about, right? And then there is this conditional things. If it needs to go here into tools, it goes to the tools, it gets the answer, and from the chatbot it goes to the end, right? So meaning that, because here we are going to ask the web sorts things, so what it needs to do is first go to the chatbot, it needs to call the tools, get the answer, and then end. So that is how it works. This figure might be complicated if you add more tools and how you want to behave the agent to perform, right? So now what we can do is the simple thing that this is the same code that I have shown you before also. Now we can ask the questions, right? So I will run this one. What I can do is the same question here. Okay, what is the weather of Helsinki today, let's say, right? And then I can say okay, yeah, provide in Celsius. Let's see. So that is the query that we provide for the LLMs. Okay, it says here this, and then it should provide us the answer here. Okay, temperature based on the tool call response. The current weather in Helsinki today is temperature this, feels like 19.9, humidity this. Let me know if you have any other further assistant. So that's correct, right? So it just went through this and finds the correct answer. And you can see here what it sorts into this query is also location, name, Helsinki, region this, and today is 2024 8/11. So yeah, it goes through the 8/11. Also the time is the same as what I asked currently, right? So it gets all the information from here. So yeah, that's how we can use I will just quit it here. That's how we can use the tools with the LangGraph. Okay, so now quickly what I want to show you is how all the traces is being logged into the LangSmith, because we configure the LangSmith in order to have the traces into the LangSmith for clear visibility, right? I will go through the LangSmith portal here, and you can see this is this LangGraph tutorial that I provided when I initialized this, or when I pasted the environment variables. So if I go inside this, you can see all the things that I have asked from the LangGraph. So what is the weather in Helsinki, and all the things are being logged into the LangSmith. So if I click inside one of these, I will make this little bit bigger. As you can see here, all the steps that it goes through when answering the question is being provided here. So here you can see I asked what is the weather of Helsinki provided in Celsius. There is the human part here, and it goes through this tably sorts results, right, query, and the query that it asked into that particular API was Helsinki weather today in Celsius. And from here tool we have this answer from it. And if you scroll a little bit down, and this is the AI based on this, and that is the answer. So it shows us step by step things, how it goes and calls there. And from here also you can see what is the number of tokens, 767 prompt tokens, 103 completion tokens, and so on. And yeah, you can just scroll one by one to see how it performs. And you can see here this is the tools and so on. I have already created videos long ago about the LangSmith. If you want to get started, you can watch those videos. But yeah, just go through here, provide those environment variables, and you will see a good looking thing in the UI itself, which helps you to see what is happening under the hood and also debug some things if necessary. I hope by going through these simple examples you get to know how LangGraph works. But one thing which might be difficult is you want to see the visualization of what is happening under the hood when the flow goes, right? Let's say that, for example, in this simple example, it's better if we can know, okay, now it is going into the chatbot, and then now it is going to call the tools, getting the answer from the tools, and going into the end node, right? End part here. So that is what I will be creating in the next video about this LangGraph Studio, which helps you to visualize the things from the UI. So that is the LangGraph UI. Until that, thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.